Fed meeting in which we got a 25% cut as everybody expected. And time good evening and welcome to our FOMC special live stream as we digest all the moves from today's Fed meeting in which we got a 25% cut as everybody expected. And time good evening and welcome to our FOMC special live stream as we digest all the moves from today's Fed meeting in which we got a 25% cut as everybody expected. And time good evening and today's Fed meeting in which we got a 25% Alright, I think we're having a bit of tech issues tonight. I think YouTube's messing up with some of the music. So we'll just crack on without any music at all, and we will dive into all the reaction from today's Fed meeting. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I think this is better. I think we'll just go without any music. I think YouTube's having a bit of a breakdown tonight. So let me just double check. Yeah, I think that's us good to go. So as I was saying, we have a massive Fed meeting today. We had 25 basis point cut as expected from the Fed. But more importantly, we got news tonight that the Fed is going to begin buying or repurchasing treasuries, which is basically government debt, which is basically QE, even though they're not going to call it that. And today we are going to look at the markets, the market reaction, what we think is coming. We'll dive into some of the news stories around the Fed meeting today. We'll look at next year, and we will cover all the probably burning questions everybody has. All right, let's see who's all in. Loads of comments. It's amazing how when something goes wrong, you get loads of comments, and then when everything goes smooth, everybody's quiet. Make sure to like the stream. As always, we will get some questions towards the end as well. All right, let's just start. Let's dive in straight away with the Fed meeting. So here's a summary of what Chair Powell said. So obviously we know we got a 25 basis point cut, but he said the downside risks to employment have risen. We've been saying this on the channel for months now. The Fed has denied that the labour market was weakening, even though there were some obvious signs. Inflation remains somewhat elevated, of course. They've not tackled inflation properly yet, and obviously tariffs have played into that. Powell says that interest rates are now in a plausible range of neutral. I disagree with that. I'll cover why shortly. But my argument is that they need to go much lower. I think rates need to come down by at least another 3 cuts to get anywhere close to the neutral rate. Powell's admitted that GDP is going to be forecast higher for next year, which is bullish for everybody. And 3 Fed members dissented. So we had 2 that opposed any cut at all, and we had 1 Fed member that wanted a 50 basis point cut rather than just a 25. So I think to summarise this is exactly what we've been saying for months. The Fed isn't anticipating what's coming. They are using back-looking data to drive policy decisions. They've been looking at employment data for the last 6 months, not forecasting what's actually happening in the economy. Job losses, unemployment doesn't rise instantly. It's like a slow burner, and then all of a sudden it takes hold of the economy. AI is coming. AI is going to disrupt every single industry, and it's going to displace loads of people out of jobs. Now, how the Fed can't see this coming is just baffling to me. the Fed needs to make policy decision today that's going to impact markets in 6-12 months. If they're not forecasting ahead, if they're just using employment data from last month, then they're never going to be ahead of the policy decisions they need to make. So I still think they're way too high. We'll touch on that shortly. Let's have a look through some of the other talking points. Q Infinity says this highlights this. So 3% for the first time since 2019. They apparently they're only going to cut once in 2026. But more importantly, they're going to start buying $40 billion worth of T-bills in December. Just 2 days. Friday, they're going to start buying massive amounts of treasury bills, which is just debt issued by the US government. So for me, QE is happening. We said it was going to happen. It's now happening. Many people said that QE wasn't going to come for months. It was going to take 6 months to come. The economy's in too desperate a situation to wait too long for QE. James Lavish, who, if you don't follow, he's pretty good on Twitter. This is exactly the point. I think somebody asked in CC Probe just before it came live. The Fed's going to label it reserve management. They're going to say it's just temporary, and they're going to insist it's not quantitative easing. Buying government debt by the Fed is QE. There is no other label for it. It is QE. And $40 billion is quite a lot in the grand scheme of things, and especially if that's just for the start. That's just them getting started. They're just going to buy $40 billion. Like, the way everybody's became so desensitized to these seismic buys of government debt by governments around the world is insane. 40 billion is a huge amount, but they're just going to do it in the first 30 days, just give it a wee test. So, interesting development. I think this probably sums up the mood right now. Is there's a lot of people on Wall Street that have this opinion. Why is the Fed doing QE when the markets are all-time highs? So let's dive into that. Let's look across. Nice little pop from Bitcoin. It's banged its head on that 94k level twice so far this week. Looks like it's going to get through in the next... Oh, I thought it was going to go through as we were speaking there. The reason... let's look at the stock market. We've got the S&P 500 absolute ripping on the news that QE is coming, up nearly 1% just in the last 4 hours. You've got the Nasdaq up, about to break out of this tight range it's been in. Let's see where it is on the daily. Yeah, probably heading back to all-time highs. But the biggest winner, and we've been saying this for over a year now, the biggest winner from rate cuts in QE is the Russell. And look at the Russell, all-time high, new all-time high today, going to be the highest daily close in history. Looks on course for the highest weekly close in history. Remember, the altcoin market is tied very closely to the Russell 2000. So this is hugely bullish for anyone in crypto. And I do think this is going to be massively bullish for markets. So the reason why, so I'll probably do a lot more talking tonight than actually showing things on the chart, because I think it's more important to explain what's going on. But the reason why so many people on Wall Street seem to have written off the fact that QE was coming and rate cuts were going to continue was because the stock market was at all-time highs. And normally when we're at all-time highs, you don't get rate cuts, you don't get QE. If anything, that's when you start hiking rates. But what everybody seems to misunderstand, and I don't really understand why, because it makes perfect sense if you sit back and analyze it from like the cold facts. The US and the UK, all Western economies, are in a massive K-shaped economy. And what that means is the top 1%, the top 2% are doing really well. They own assets, they own stocks, they own crypto, they own gold, silver, whatever they own. And it's all done very well over the last 5 years. Take out crypto's maybe underperformed over the last year, but Bitcoin's up quite significantly over the last few years. But at the bottom half of the economy, they're absolutely struggling. They're struggling because credit card debt, car debt, mortgages, all these payments, all this credit is really suffocating them every single month. And that's the same for business as well. If you think of small businesses, they rely on short-term loans, short-term capital. They normally pay a bit later than big companies. So when interest rates are high, the people that benefit the most are the richest. They're the biggest companies and they're the richest people because they have hundreds of billions sitting in the bank just earning 4% all the time. That's quite happy. The big companies don't need to borrow, so they don't rely on interest rates or don't get impacted by interest rates. And higher interest rates suffocate small business, so there's less competition. So Wall Street is completely blindsided by QE because they are looking at big companies, Mag 7, the AI trade, all the people they know are doing really well. So why would we cut rates? Cutting rates is just going to fuel this fire. But what the Fed and Trump is trying to do is tackle the affordability crisis, tackle the problems the bottom 50% are facing, small businesses, and obviously fund the AI growth that needs to come. So to me, rate cuts were obvious. I still think they need to go further with rate cuts. I think 25 basis points was a bit of a easy get out. I think they should have done 50 and get ahead of the problems that are coming next year. I think the concerns about unemployment haven't even started yet, and next year they're going to accelerate fast. On Friday night, I'm doing a video on how I use AI every single day, different tools, how I use it, why it's so bullish for me. Not necessarily from a stock point of view, but just from a day-to-day life business point of view. I'm going to do a video on some of the tools I use. You should tune into that. That'll give you a glimpse of why I am firmly convinced that AI is going to disrupt every single job, regardless of what you do. It'll disrupt it in some way. So, yeah, that's what the Fed is doing. They are trying now to scramble to get ahead of this unemployment spike that we're going to see over the next year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. They need to get ahead of it now. And then on top of that, they have massive amounts of debt to refinance. But like, the situation's just crazy. If we look at where the central bank balance sheet is, this was, let's try and zoom out. So this was August 19. This was when the repo market spiked, and then we had the COVID buy-in of treasuries. This is basically what we're about to see happen again. Not as extreme as the 2020 spike in treasuries, but we are going to see the balance sheet starting to expand by $40 billion in the next 30 days. January, it will be at least 40 billion, if not more. I think it will go up to about 60, 65 billion. This is going to expand really quickly, and this is the key driver of crypto in my mind. I think this will be what fuels the massive explosive rally across crypto into 2026. Combine that with regulation, Trump being pro-crypto, ETFs, adoption, big banks allocating to crypto, and you've just got a recipe for one of the most explosive bull runs in crypto history. And this is why I've been saying for weeks and weeks, it's coming. We don't know when, but we know it's coming, and we know it's going to eclipse what everybody's forecasting. So really positive news out of the Fed today. There's going to be a lot of doom and gloom that, you know, they're doing QE because they're panicking and blah, blah, blah. They should be panicking. They should have been panicking 6 months ago. But yeah, I think gold and silver popping as well. Gold up nearly 1% today, and you've got silver up nearly 2%. Another record high daily close for silver. Absolute monster move for silver over the last few weeks. If we look, 24th of November, so that's at 16 days ago, and silver is up 26.5%. A massive move, and hopefully everyone is feeling pretty happy because we've been banging on about silver for a couple of years now, so hopefully some people allocate to silver. I know I've got some silver coins there that sit on my desk. Hopefully a lot of you took some of our I wouldn't say advice, but some of our calls on silver and got yourself some. All right, let's jump out the chat. We'll have a look and see who's all in, what they've got to say, and then we will look at a couple of more stories. We'll look at some charts, and we'll look at what is ahead for Bitcoin. Let me scroll to all the music is wrecked chat. Matt Shaw says it's like a bad rave. Get the strobe lights on. Right, let's see. Alvaro going wild. Somebody's been buying the dips. B Don says he's up 150% this week. Nice move. Kieran says weird seeing crypto starting to pump a bit after the Fed cut. Usually started crashing by this point. Very true. We actually spoke about that today. So I was on a call earlier with Decadon, and we were saying that is the funny thing about these Fed meetings is normally the rate cut happens. Powell comes out and he starts talking, and the market looks really nice. And then a couple of hours after we finish the stream, it absolutely crashes. So I don't know if we're a jinx. But the reason for that is just because market makers, Binance, some like Wintermute, they know that people feed off Twitter. So they see all this bullish news, and it's just a really good chance for them to crash some late longs. But I think if you look at the timing of everything that's happened recently, you've got the ETFs coming into play slowly but surely during the shutdown. You've got Vanguard announcing that they're going to start allowing their clients to hold and buy Bitcoin at like basically the year's bottom. You've got MicroStrategy. All that FUD came out about MicroStrategy as Bitcoin hit 80k. Just everything felt really coordinated over the last week or so. So I do think the next 24 hours are probably going to be really volatile. And then once we get through that, we'll start to see some bullish moves start to reclaim some key levels. And I think that buy-in on Friday will spark some liquidity into the markets over the weekend as well. So by next week, I think the markets will start to get a bit more heated, which will be nice. Let's see. Ben says, kept banging on about lack of... Yeah, to be fair, it's just nonsense. Like, if anyone believes the chairman of the Central Bank of America doesn't know the data for unemployment, for inflation, like, nobody's convincing me that's true. They can say all they want that they're not releasing it or whatever. People know the real numbers. The reason they won't be releasing it to the public is so that they can just spin their own narrative, and by the time they release it, it's too late, to be honest. Ali says, forgive my naivety, but how is buying treasury bonds the same as QE? That's exactly what QE is. Quantitative easing is buying government debt. So it's that's just a fancy term for it. QE is literally just buying treasuries and bonds. Bank of England does it. The Japanese bank does it. Euro Central Bank does it. That is literally what QE is. QT is selling them, letting them roll off the balance sheet and not renewing them. So that is literally the definition of QE. Gavin McLean says Borg. Yeah, we're going to touch on Borg in a second. Agent says, do I think AI is going to be bullish for this cycle? Yeah, I actually do. I think AI and crypto will start to go hand in hand. We've seen a lot of talk about using blockchain rails and like for the financial condition, financial system. You saw Elon talk about Bitcoin as energy last week. You've got people talking about the tokenization of assets coming on chain. That's all because of AI. AI is not going to deal in, like, if you think about it, if you fast forward like 2 years, you're going to have like an AI agent that acts on your behalf. well, how are they going to invest? How are they going to buy and sell your portfolio? It needs to be on the blockchain. It needs to be tokenized, and it needs to be crypto related, or at least use crypto rails. Um, an AI agent isn't going to contact a stockbroker to buy some. Like, everything's going to be on chain within the next 5 years, whether it be assets. So you've seen the real world asset move, whether it be stocks, like tokenized stocks, that's coming. We're seeing a lot of movement in that. Debt will become on chain as well, so you can see exactly what's happening in private equity and eventually real estate and things like that. Everything will be on chain, in my opinion, and that's to allow AI to be able to transact, act on your behalf, buy, sell, trade, do whatever needs to be done. And on top of that, it's because crypto allows for micropayments. So if, for example, I don't know, like a robo taxi gets paid 0.001 cents per mile it travels, well, you can't do that in fiat currency, but you can do that in crypto, and you can send micropayments. So, yeah, AI, crypto, all hand in hand. It's part of the same trade, in my opinion. And 2026 is going to be an insane year for both. Let's cover Borg. So, if you didn't see, you'll see that Swissborg announced that they're partnering with MasterCard to prepare to launch the Swissborg debit card. So as Swissborg says, this marks a significant milestone. We've been talking about this for a while. We've been getting questions on it for a while as well. I think what everybody has to understand is, and one of the reasons why I'm so bullish on Swissborg long term, is that they do everything properly. So rather than rush out a card and then have to retract it, or rush out a card that's not compliant and you can only use it in certain places, Swissborg's very meticulous when it comes to the details and the regulation. And it just means that they do something once and they do it right. That's why I think the card's taking a bit longer. But long term, it makes perfect sense. Swissborg is a wealth app. You can store pounds, you can store dollars, you can store Bitcoin, gold, you can store anything you want. They've now got dirhams if you're in Dubai. So they've got loads of reasons why you would just hold the majority of your wealth on the Swissborg app. Now they've made it even easier to access it with a debit card. And also it's just that whole thing, and they kind of say that here, it brings real world utility to Web3. It finally makes crypto more usable, especially in Europe where it's notoriously difficult right now. So yeah, massively bullish on the MasterCard from Swissborg. I think it'll also drive a new audience to Swissborg. So it'll bring more people to the ecosystem, which is obviously good for Borg. Let's check out the Borg chart before we jump on. We'll cover Alvara in a second. I see everybody's asking about Alvara. Alvara's absolutely flying this week. So Borg up a few percent, about 3%. Let's see what crypto mark is up 1%. Total 2 is up 1%. So it's not massively reacting to the news, but I think this is a common thing with Swissborg and the Borg token, is it almost takes a few days for the Borg token to digest positive news. The keynote happened, and then it was like a few days later that actually people started getting excited. I think there's a couple of reasons for that, as well as they've not given a date. I think it's going to be early next year. But also, I think a lot of times people can't see why this is bullish. Now, when I explain it and I think about it, it's massively bullish for me and our members in CC Pro and for the app in general. But sometimes people think it's a gimmick or it's not going to work, and it was the same with the buybacks. Everybody was hesitant. Is it going to work? Is it going to be bullish? Is it not? So yeah, I think it's a common theme with Borg that it takes a few days for people to actually understand how bullish an announcement something like this is. So yeah, I think we'll see some big moves in the coming months for Borg. I think it will absolutely smash all-time highs. Said it the other night on stream as well. People were talking about $1 being the absolute top. For me, that's absolute crazy talk. It's going much, much higher than $1. Right, well, let's look at Alvara. And great question from Ben. We'll cover that as well. All right, let's have a look at Alvara. So Alvara over the last week up now 137%. If you're in CC Pro, you'll see Don actually posted a buy a few days ago. I think he basically caught this entire move. So hopefully some people averaged down, got their buy price a bit lower as well. I think now it's still down quite a bit for a lot of people, but 138% in a week is huge. I think Alvara is going to continue to grow in strength. I've said before that their baskets are live, but I think they are saving some of their massive marketing for when the market's a bit more hyped and there's a bit more attention on it. I've said that a few times. I think that's the correct move. It makes sense. It's a bit frustrating if you're holding, but it's just a good opportunity to get some good buys in. I think Don bought sub 3 cents. What a great time to start buying and just average down your buys. If you were buying at like 30, 40 cents and you can buy now at 3, you can get your average buy price down quite dramatically. And then also, it just means you hit green, you hit profit earlier than just holding out for it to get back to where you started buying it. So, yeah, super bullish on Alvara long term. Somebody asked about the all-time high. I think let's discount the first spike. I think this 425 is just a centralized exchange listing that's probably manipulated the price. I've said for a while, I think you can go $3. I think that's still reasonable. I think people underestimate how much liquidity is going to pour into the system. If we think about, the Fed only just ended QT on the 2nd of December, and within 10 days they've announced $40 billion worth of QE. The liquidity next year is just going to be insane, and that's before Trump hires his Fed chair. He does all the tax breaks and all the tax cuts that he says he's going to do, and we get lower rates, more QE, more bullish news from the crypto space, more ETFs, more positive regulation. All that stuff is going to drive huge liquidity into the markets. I think things like this with zero sell pressure in the chart will do very well. And it's nice to see the volume up as well. So it's actually real trading which is going on, which is good. Lee Crypto Guy has a $0.02, so 2 cents average buy for Alvara. So that is very nice. That's a very nice buy price. So you're up like 3x already, and Bitcoin's not even broke 94k yet. So yeah, very nice buy. You'll see some very strong upside on that, I imagine. So Ben asks, if people just bought spot instead of using leverage, wouldn't we just pump instead of having to dip to wipe out longs all the time? I mean, yes, I think leverage is just part of the game, to be honest. I think that's just life. What the biggest thing that's going to change is regulation. So as soon as the Clarity Act gets passed, I think that's going to try and eliminate a lot of the games, a lot of the manipulation that goes on in the crypto markets. We're going to see regulation come in. I think we'll see Binance become more tied to regulators as well. I think that's why CZ got pardoned. I think that's why he's been so friendly to Trump, if you like, is because long term I think that's the plan. And I think it will eliminate a lot of the leverage, or at least some of the manipulation from market makers. Because don't forget that most of the crashes and the liquidation crashes to eliminate those longs are actively done. Like, people are seeking out stop losses. They're trying to liquidate people. So I think a lot of that will disappear, especially when we see leverage ETFs come into play. So we've got 3x and 5x leverage ETFs on some coins like XRP and Solana and things like that. They're not going, like, BlackRock's not going to allow somebody like Binance to flush them out of positions. So I think that will be a big change in the industry as soon as it comes in. And then if we look at Ethereum's doing really well over the last few days, up 25% since the first of the month, so up 25% in 9 days. This has really been sparked as well by BlackRock filing that staking ETH ETF. We all know BlackRock. As soon as BlackRock announced something, it's basically a done deal. So I think that will come into play. I think that'll be bullish for Wall Street, and I think we'll see Ethereum start to lead the market again. I do think Bitcoin will have an insane rally. I think all-time highs will get broken early 2026, and then I think Ethereum and the altcoins will take over. And I think we'll see some strong performances from things like Solana, XRP, BNB, obviously. And then it'll start to filter down the market, and we'll see some other coins absolutely rip to the upside. Let's have a quick look at this as we are talking on the night of the Fed meeting. So, like I said earlier, just a 22% chance or 24% chance that we get a cut in January. I expect a cut in January. So it's the end of January as well. It's the 28th. So 48 days from now, I think we'll get a cut then. And if we look at Polymarket, you can see that pretty decent odds, to be fair. 25 point cut is 5-1. I would probably take those odds. If you want to know more about prediction markets, we did a video last night. It's up on the YouTube channel, all about prediction markets, all about how you can use them, what I use them for, how you can make money, what edge you can find on them. So be sure to check that out, because I think prediction markets are going to absolutely blow up next year as more and more people use them. The profitability on them is insane, and we're going to see a lot of tokenized prediction markets as well. Things like this, like will 2 Fed rate cuts happen in 2026? 4-1 odds. That's free money to me. That there is definitely going to be 2 rate cuts in 2026. So yeah, check out the video on prediction markets, and you'll understand why stuff like that is a really good opportunity. And then we've got this as well. So this is another bullish news story from Scott Bessent. Love Scott Bessent. He features a lot on these streams, on these videos. $100 to $150 billion in tax refunds coming in 2026, the largest in history, about $2,000 per household. They are going to stimulate the economy like it's never been stimulated before. They are going to run things hot. They are going to do everything they can to basically bribe people to win the midterms next November. I think everybody better get ready for a huge 2026. And I actually was talking today with someone, and I actually said one of the biggest ways people might get caught offside is if actually the next leg starts now or around the middle of this month. And the point being is that so many people have written off 2025. So many people have said, it's Christmas, it's holiday season, I'm just going to ignore the markets, come back fresh in January, and then see what happens. I think we might see a front run of that move. It seems to make sense. Everybody's so bearish. Sentiment's still really fragile. People are still worried about the effects of the October crash. People are just frustrated with the year. They're just sick of it. So I think the conditions are ripe that we could see a bit of a melt up into Christmas. And then those people coming back in January are going to have to buy in a bit higher, which it's good to see a lot of CC Pro people took advantage of the dip and bought much lower. If you're new to the stream and you don't know what CC Pro is, that is our private members Discord. So daily updates, technical analysis, some trades. We have a CC Pro podcast. We have pretty much everything. We've got a chat room, even a move to Dubai section. And if you want a bit more than what we offer just in CC Pro, we've got CC Pro Alpha. CC Pro Alpha is a bit more high net worth individuals. We do a private live stream every Monday, and we also do alternative investments, and we've been calling silver in alpha for, I want to say, nearly 4 years at this point. I know I show this chart quite a lot on stream, but this was the last time I bought some silver. So you can see my silver, you can't see, is up over 122%, and that was my last buy. So as you can see, there's a wee arrow down there, a little line down there. I bought some there as well, and let's see what that's up actually. That buy is up 136%. But we've been shouting about silver all in this range here, way back to 2022. So, some massive moves, and hopefully some alpha members caught that. Talking of alpha, we also called Tesla back in March for our alpha investors. It was in here. The bearish sentiment was absolutely grinding us. People were just so bearish on Elon, on Tesla long term, and Tesla is now up over 83%, nearly 84%, and looks on course for potentially closing its highest weekly candle close in history, but new all-time highs don't look far away. We could probably get there by the end of the year. It's less than 10% from here, up nearly 2.5% today. If the market continues to rip like this, then I don't see any reason why we don't get an all-time high before the end of 2025, which would be nice, and hopefully some more people took those trades as well. I see somebody talking about Opulus. Lee's asking how well I think it could do. I think, so there's two parts to that question. I think Opulus can do very well. In terms of time frame, I like, it's so hard to say where it will be in like 3 months' time. I think for me, like from here, Opulus can do 100x, definitely. $1.40 for Opulus to me doesn't sound outrageous at all. This was a key area I had marked out ages ago. This is, what's that, 54x just to there, and that takes it to 84 cents. But I think long term it can definitely get up to the $2 area. Like, that's kind of, I'm not writing off much higher. I've got other targets higher up, but yeah, 100x to 140 to me seems achievable. I wouldn't be surprised if it did 140, 150. Maybe in Q1 2026, but again, don't want to put timeframes on it, because the market, anything could happen. China could go and invade Taiwan in the middle of January, and then we're talking about the end of 2026. But I do think the Trump administration is lining everything up for the first half of next year to be super bullish. Even the fact that he's meeting Xi in China in April, I think that's just another signal. And then you've got Binance talking about peak bull run conditions around March time. So when these people speak, you have to pay attention to what they're actually saying. They've been saying for 6 months that 2026 is going to be the biggest boom the economy's ever seen. I tend to believe them when they say stuff like that. So, recently, if you've not been on stream or if you're not on CC Pro, we have launched some calls with myself. So we get loads of DMs asking for things like how to set up TradingView, what indicators we use, how to trade, how to put long shorts on. So I've introduced some one-to-one calls, either 30 minutes or 60 minutes. The link is in the description. I'll drop some links in the chat right now as well for both CC Pro if you're not a member, and for the calls with myself. You can come on, you can ask me pretty much anything, but yeah, those are some examples. We even had someone a few weeks ago that had a lump sum of cash, and he just wanted to know how to deploy it, where to deploy it, wanted to talk through some of his altcoin picks. We went through it. Didn't take us too long to come up with a solution, and then he began deploying that money during the dip. So I would imagine he's up in some decent profits already. I think some of his coins should be doing pretty well, but we've set him up for success. So feel free to book. We've had quite a few come in over the last few days. The main thing is just getting like a bit of advice or a bit of help with something that's been annoying somebody for a while. We can't always go through these questions on streams. So yeah, TradingView is a big one that we're getting just now, is how to set up TradingView, how to set levels, draw indicators, all things like that. That's a big one that seems to be coming through just now. Happy to go through that. Happy to help people trade, set take profits, stop losses, things like that. But yeah. Let's see. Bidon says MV and somebody says Flame, so I'm kind of the exact same question, to be fair. Flame's a strange one. Recently, it's just been absolutely melting up and then crashing back down. I think I've said it before. So this chart here is, if you're anything like us, the majority of your altcoin holdings is going to be outside the top 10, or at least significant holdings once we get to all-time highs are going to be made up of those coins. So Opulus, Borg, Flame, LimeWire, anything like that is going to be in the others chart. So that is the total crypto market excluding the top 10. And actually, if you look at it, it's only at 216 billion. Bear in mind, the Fed have just announced they're going to print $40 billion to buy treasuries. They're going to print 20%, maybe a little bit more because we're at 216 billion, but they're basically going to buy 20% of the altcoin market in US treasuries on Friday, just out of the blue. So for me, things like Opulus, I'm just reading some off the screen, Inspect, LimeWire, Flame, these low market cap coins, when this liquidity starts to flow, you're going to see some insane pumps. And actually, let's look at LimeWire, for example. There is no sell pressure in this chart. It's literally tailed off to pretty much low volume, absolute dump. Anyone that wanted to sell is already sold. So the upside potential is now not only still as high, but you can get there really fast. Market cap's been destroyed. All the token unlocks are done. I actually read a theory that that's why a lot of the kind of smart money has held off allocating. So many new tokens, so many big unlocks over this year, 2025, is that there's a theory going around that a lot of smart money's been sitting on the sidelines just letting these charts absolutely bleed out. And then once all the unlocks are finished, you look at SWI, for example, it would be a good example. It's still down really low. You've got things like Jupiter down massively. All these, Arbitrum, another one, down at the lowest prices. It's just to allow a lot of these sellers, these traders, to just get out of the position before the smart money comes in and absolutely sends these things to all-time high. So, yeah, I think we'll see some big moves. Some interesting coins down. Athena down today. And then we're going to have a meme cycle as well. So stuff like, I think Pepe will do huge gains in the coming months as well. Quite a mixed bag tonight, actually. You're seeing like Polkadot's down, but then you're seeing Solana up nearly 2%, Link up 1.5%, and then just some crazy Loopring up 27% on the day. So, yeah, I think MV, Flame, these coins, it's just about holding hope. That when liquidity flows, you'll see the moves in these coins is going to be insane. And also, if you can get your average buy down, then I would make sure to make the most of these dips before they end, because you've saw what's happened with Alvara, you saw what happened with Zcash. Deck posted another one in CC Pro a few days ago where it was just trading down and sideways for months on end. I think it was 10 months of losses were wiped out within a couple of days. And Zcash done the exact same. So if we look at Zcash, down and to the right for 1,274 days, and then it moved 11x in 6 weeks. So yeah, it's just about understand what you hold, lowering your buy price, and then waiting for the liquidity flow, and then eventually making sure you've got a plan to get out the market. I still see so many people that don't have profit plans, profit taking plans, where they're going to put the profit, sell targets. That's key at this point in the market. I think somebody asked earlier about why the market wasn't flying because of QE. There's 2 points. One, I still believe there's a lot of suppression happening. I think prices are being suppressed by a lot of shorts, and we saw that with MicroStrategy recently. I think JP Morgan had the biggest short against MicroStrategy stock. So when there's heavy shorts, that holds price down. I still think that's happening in the market. You look at stuff like Uniswap, massively undervalued, Polkadot, ridiculous. And I think that's a massive issue that I think once those shorts start to close as QE happens, regulation happens, ETFs happen, that's why you're going to see not just buying causing pumps, but actually when shorts close, they cause the market to move higher as well. I have no idea what... Is there a video on your channel on how to decide profit-taking areas? We've covered a few on stream. I think for something like that, you'd be better booking a call. We do talk about it in CC Pro a bit. We do talk about it on streams, but it depends on... So if you're not familiar with our streams, we also do one-to-ones with Deck and Dawn. They're more like a bit longer, a bit more in-depth. They look at your whole portfolio, your financial goals, how much you've invested, what your average buy price. Something like that might be perfect for setting your profit-taking levels. Or you can book a call and we can go through some of that as well. But there's not a specific video because profit-taking is a personal thing. So your risk tolerance, your profit goals, your financial position will be completely different to everybody else. And I keep saying this in CC Pro is that somebody's profit target for Borg will be totally different from somebody else's because they're optimizing for different things. Are they holding out for 20x because they've invested X amount and that gets them something? Or are they a high net worth individual that a 3x would be basically 3 years worth of gains in any other investment they could put their money in? There's loads of different driving factors behind profit taking. So it's quite a personal thing. Lee Crypto, so you can use a VPN. You can put your VPN location to Switzerland. That's what I do. And yeah, I'd cover that in the video from last night as well. This is probably going to be the next manipulation event. Um, the MSCI has suggested they might not include strategy going forward in their index, which is a global index, and I think it's like $12 billion worth of buy pressure it brings. Um, the deadline for the decision's the 15th of January. I don't think it's going to pass. I don't believe it's going to happen, but it will definitely be used to manipulate the markets. So I think as we get closer to that date, it'll be interesting to see how that reacts. And I think I'm sure there's a poly market on this. Yeah, MicroStrategy delisted by MSCI, 74% chance. If that happened, that would be pretty bearish for MicroStrategy, and it probably would hamper Bitcoin. I don't think this is going to pass. I've taken the no side on this, just to see where I am. I've also taken the yes on this, so I'll let you know how those go. And for anyone that watched the video, um, while the video was on, I took Atalanta to beat Chelsea, I think, and I won. So I'm sure that was right. Let's have a look. Yeah, Atalanta to beat Chelsea. So not that I'm clout chasing or anything, but yeah, the 4 year cycle's not a thing anymore, Ben. But I think the biggest driver isn't necessarily the 4 year cycle, it's these rates here. So this is the treasury rates. This is where a lot of smart money sits their money. So if you have like millions or billions of dollars, you can just sit it in short term treasuries and collect 3.5% to 4%, depending on where it is. As these rates continue to drop because of the Fed cutting rates, they're not going to be happy accepting a 3% rate. They're going to want higher rates. They're going to move that money into better yielding products. And this is why the timing of the ETH staked ETF is so interesting, because it's coming just as the Fed is getting aggressive on cutting rates. So, yeah, I still think this is absolute crazy. 24% chance that we don't get a rate cut in January. I've said it before. I think they'll cut aggressively next year. I think we need to be at 2.5%. I think we'll get there the first half of next year to get ahead of what's coming in the back half, which will be AI, massive unemployment, and real issues as we go into 2027. All right. Well, I hope that explained a lot of things that happened tonight. The Fed is very bullish for markets. QE is coming on Friday. It's just the start. It's going to ramp up next year. 2026 is going to be a massive year for crypto. I think don't dive into it. I would be very cautious of chasing massive moves tonight. Let the market settle down over the next 24 hours. Let the stock market open tomorrow, and then the market, I think, will start to settle out, and we'll see some bullish moves towards Christmas. And then January is going to be probably pretty insane quarter for us. All right. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'll try and fix the tunes for next time. I will be back on Friday night with a special video all about AI, how I use AI, what you can do to use AI in everything you do. And then we've got a couple more videos dropping over the weekend, which I think you'll be very interested in as well. Make sure to like the stream, and I will be back very soon. Thanks for tuning in. All about AI, how I use AI, what you can do to use AI in everything you do. And then we've got a couple more videos dropping over the weekend, which I think you'll be very interested in as well. Make sure to like the stream, and I will be back very soon. Thanks for tuning in. All about AI, how I use AI, what you can do to use AI in everything you do. And then we've got a couple more videos dropping over the weekend, which I think you'll be very interested in as well. Make sure to like the stream, and I will be back very soon. Thanks for tuning in.